Aaron, how you doing? Michael K. here.
Hi, Michael. How are you?
I'm doing fine. How bad is this Texas team right now?
Awful. I saw a number before the first half ended. They had used 50 players, which set a new Major League Baseball record of most players used in the first half of the season. So it's just a team that's obviously, injuries are always a part of the game, and covering the Yankees, especially an older team, that injuries have been a big factor with them the last couple of years. But we've never really seen a team as decimated by injury as much as the Texas Rangers have this year, and it's just one of those things that you can't always control, and it's going to turn into a chance for them to kind of hit the reset button. It'll be interesting to see if they're able to move some parts and kind of reset to get themselves in a position to be competitive again next year.
All right, now let me put this to you bluntly, because you just wonder. The Yankees have been decimated by injuries as well. 80% of their starting rotation is down, and still they're 3 games over 500 and 3 games out. Are the Rangers just not responding to Ron Washington, or are their injuries worse than the Yankees' injuries?
Yeah, I think it's a couple things, Michael. I think they're worse injuries, more across the board. Maybe not the same layer of depth that the Yankees have been able to plug in with, so to speak. And they play in the American League West, where the A's and the Angels are the 2 best teams in Major League Baseball. And I think for as good as the American League East has been over the last 20 years, I think we all kind of look at it as a bit of a flawed division. I mean, all 5 teams could conceivably win the division, but all 5 teams have their issues and have real issues. So it's a little bit more of a wide-open field, I believe, in the AL East.
Let's talk about this Yankee team, because going into the All-Star break, I mean, it looked like the weight of these injuries was just going to be too much. And would Brandon McCarthy be the right sort of pitcher? Could these young guys carry them through? Only Hiroki Kuroda started the season in the rotation, and here they take 3 in a row against a Reds team that they might have caught at the right time. No Phillips, no Votto. But do you think this Yankee team, if they don't make a deal for a big-time pitcher, could actually be in the running for a playoff spot?
Well, I think they're going to be in the running, yes, because I don't think anyone in the American League East is going to run away. But if their roster were to stay the way it is right now, it would be surprising to me if the Yankees made the postseason, just because of, the question marks up across the board on their starting rotation. Now, their lineup looks like it's starting to get healthier. If Beltran and McCann can really be factors in the second half, that makes things interesting. Then all of a sudden, if you are, say, to go out and make a trade, and a guy like McCarthy really steps up, and Tanaka potentially comes back at some point in the season, these ifs that happen all of a sudden make the Yankees a real contender. I think the guy to keep an eye out for in what he does these next couple of starts, I think he goes tonight for Philly, is Cliff Lee. Because Cliff Lee would seem to me the one place that would make a little bit of sense, and the one team that could kind of pull it off and roll the dice a little bit with it might be the Yankees.
Now, let's talk about Lee, because that's interesting. And I just don't know. I mean, when you talk about money with the Yankees, people kind of smirk, but everybody has a limit. Would you invest that much money in Cliff Lee over the next 2.5 years? The guy has been down with a bad elbow, and I know they're desperate right now, but if you're running the Yankees, is that a play that you would make if he looks okay in his next 2 starts?
Well, I think these next 2 starts are interesting. If he goes out and pitches like the Cliff Lee we've seen, 7 innings, 7-8 innings, and he looks the part, and physically he checks out, wow. And the Yankees are hanging around in the pennant race looking for holes to fill, I absolutely think that he becomes in play potentially for the Yankees. Now, they'd have to feel pretty good about the medicals, even though it's a roll of the dice. And I think they'd have to see a couple of strong outings out of him in this final couple of weeks, although he could spill over into August and be a post-deadline deal.
Because I don't think anybody's going to put in a claim for him and accept all that money. That's why the Yankees seem like the perfect team. Let's talk about Brandon McCarthy. After his start on Saturday, and he pitched very well, Aaron, and we're talking with Aaron Boone of ESPN here on the Michael K. Show. Brian McCann said he reminded him of Tim Hudson. They also told him to start throwing the cutter, which Arizona told him to stop throwing. And McCann said, I want you to throw your four-seamer up in the zone to change eye level. Is it possible that the Yankees might have struck gold here with this guy?
I don't know about gold, but is it possible they have something here and a viable guy for the rotation? Yes. He's got enough of a track record that could suggest that he could get it together and get it rolling here. He went out got off to a terrible start this year in Arizona, and that can happen. You get a little botched up mechanically, or you're not throwing the ball particularly well. You're in that ballpark, a place that's a pretty good hitter's ballpark. You can get out of sorts a little bit. Maybe it's a tweaking here that can get you. Do I see him leading a rotation into the postseason and taking the ball in game one or something? Not necessarily. But to think he can't be a viable starter down the stretch, I think that very much is possible.
Let's talk about Tanaka. You mentioned him. The doctors are telling the Yankees it's less than a 10% tear of the ulnar collateral ligament and that it should be tried to be rehab first. I think that's awfully dangerous, Aaron, because he throws a splitter. That's his moneymaker. It's a ticking time bomb. Would you rather he get the surgery now and be available for them at the All-Star break next year, or are you down with the fact that they should just ride this out and see if they could get him back this year?
Well, it seems that enough people are saying they think he should ride it out. So this actually happened with Wainwright, I believe, several years ago, where he had a minor thing. It may very well, Michael, mean that someday down the road, whether it's a year, 2, 5 years, that ultimately he does have to have this surgery. But if it's something that can truly be rehab and where he can truly come back and be not only effective, but the Tanaka we've seen, man, I don't know if you can just jump into surgery. Based on all the opinions I'm hearing from different doctors, all kind of suggesting, no, this is the way to go right now, is to rehab this thing.
Isn't it true, though, that Wainwright eventually did blow it out and have to have the surgery?
Yep, and that's probably the reality. But as we're seeing pretty much with 80% of the pitchers, at some point it goes. So you've got to play that waiting game of Tanaka's age, your team, where you are in the standings, what makes the most sense. There's a lot of things, I think, that factor into that decision ultimately.
We've had you on a lot, and you've given glowing reviews of your time as a teammate with Derek Jeter. But are you surprised, Aaron, that after missing all but 17 games last year, being 40 years old, that here this guy is sitting in the mid-270s and playing every single day?
I am a little bit. Yeah, I'm surprised that he's been this healthy. And talking to him at the All-Star game, I got to sit down with him. You get the sense that he feels really good, that his body feels really good. And after a slow start in spring training, I think he was behind a little bit just from sitting out a whole season. I've been there. It's hard to just jump back and kind of be yourself, especially swinging the bat. And, I think he got off to a little bit of a slow start in spring training and even early in the season. But, I've been very impressed, happy to see him being what I feel like's been remarkably healthy and moving around pretty well.
Well, I'm going to be happy to see you a little bit later on in the broadcast level. So thanks for coming on with us, Aaron.
All right, Michael. See you over there, bud.